Okay, let's just travel back in time for a second. Imagine it's 2,600 years ago. The entire world, everything you know, is explained by gods and myths. And then one guy comes along and imagines a universe that is so strange, so vast, and so modern that it would take the rest of us literally thousands of years to catch up. We're going to dive into the mind of that Greek thinker, Anaximander.
This question right here. This is basically where science and philosophy get their start. You know, back in the ancient Greek city of Miletus, these new thinkers popped up. And they just weren't happy with the old stories about the gods. They wanted to know what reality was really made of. What's the one single stuff that everything else comes from?
So the first big idea came from a guy named Thales, who was actually Anaximander's teacher. His answer? Water. And you can see why, right? Water's everywhere. It changes from solid to liquid to gas. It makes a lot of sense. But for his student, Anaximander, that just wasn't going to cut it. I mean, if everything is made of water, how in the world do you explain fire? So he took this incredible mental leap. He suggested the source of everything wasn't something you could see or touch at all. It was something else.
And he gave this source a name, the apeiron. This one word is really the key to his entire way of thinking. He wasn't just picking a different element. No, he was completely changing the rules of the game.
So what exactly is the apeiron? Well, it means the boundless, the infinite, the indefinite. But check out that keyword unobservable. See, Thales picked water. You can go scoop that up in your hands. Anaximander chose a purely abstract idea, something you can only really get your head around with your mind. And this is a huge deal. It's the first time in Western thought that someone argues ultimate reality is something beyond what our senses can perceive.
So here's the thing. This apeiron wasn't just some passive stuff. It was a dynamic, active system. Think of it like a sort of primordial cosmic soup. It's not water, it's not air, it's this boundless reservoir that's always moving, always swirling. And out of this swirling vortex, opposites like hot and cold or wet and dry could separate themselves out and form the world that we see. And in the end, everything would dissolve right back into it. It's a complete cycle of existence.
Now, when you start thinking in these huge abstract terms, it has some pretty staggering consequences. I mean, if the whole universe comes from something boundless and infinite, what does that say about our world's place in it all? Well, this idea led Anaximander to a totally revolutionary picture of the cosmos.
This is just brilliant. Seriously, think about it. Every other culture at the time imagined the Earth had to be resting on something. Giant pillars, a huge turtle, you name it. Anaximander is the first person in recorded history to say, nope, it doesn't need any support. It just hangs there, suspended, because of a kind of balance. It's a purely rational explanation. No gods, no magic, just logic.
All right, so let's try to build his model in our heads. First off, he didn't picture the Earth as a sphere. He saw it as a flat-topped cylinder, kind of like a drum or a big hockey puck. And we're all living on that top flat surface. Yeah, a little weird to us today, but wait for the next part.
And there it is. The Earth just floats, untethered, right in the absolute center of everything. This is the very first time anyone conceived of a world just hanging in empty space, held in place by nothing more than its own centrality. Can you imagine being the first person to suggest that? He literally let go of the world.
And he wasn't done. The sun, the moon, the stars, these weren't gods riding chariots across the sky. He imagined them as these giant, hollow wheels full of fire, all circling the Earth. What we see as a star, that's just a little hole, a puncture in one of those wheels, letting the fire inside shine through. It's a completely mechanical model of the heavens, just astounding for the time.
So, if the cosmos can be explained by natural rules, then it makes sense that life itself could be too. Anaximander turned that same rational thinking from the stars to us, to the origin of human life. And once again, he came up with something absolutely revolutionary.
Okay, I know this looks pretty wild, but try to look past the details for a second. The thorny bark, emerging at puberty. What's the core idea here? He's arguing that life came about naturally from the wet parts of the planet, and, even more important, that humans didn't just show up fully formed. We actually developed from another type of animal, a fish-like creature. This is the first tiny glimmer of an evolutionary idea, 2,400 years before Darwin.
So when you start putting all these pieces together, the apeiron, the floating Earth, the fish ancestors, you see a picture of a mind that was just on a completely different level. He didn't just get a few things right, he fundamentally changed the kinds of questions people were even asking.
I mean, his list of firsts is just staggering. The first to use an abstract principle for reality. The first to dream up a mechanical universe. The first to give a natural explanation for where we came from.
Oh, and on top of all that, he drew the first map of the known world. He gave us the blueprint for a new way of looking at everything. He shifted the focus from asking who made the world to asking how the world works.
Which brings us to this final thought. Anaximander's whole search for the apeiron was a quest for one single grand, unifying idea behind everything we see. So today, when you hear about particle physicists searching for a theory of everything that can unite all the forces of nature, aren't they, in a way, still on that same journey Anaximander started 2,600 years ago? They're still trying to grasp the boundless.